This is the College Hockey News Insiders Podcast.
Wilmer behind the back, spinorama, he scores! What a goal by Jeremy Wilmer!
Discussion.
Into the net with a shot, he scores! Owen Mike goes 4-2, Western Michigan.
Opinion.
Back into the near circle, fires, he scores! Hysteria here in Hockey Valley as Penn State upsets number 2 Minnesota.
Special guests and your listener questions.
The icing is waved and it's over! Western Michigan has won it. The Broncos are the Frozen Four champions of 2025.
Taking you through the world of college hockey, here are your hosts, Adam Roden and Mike McMahon.
All right, welcome to the podcast here. And we are back as we move along this season. And the top of the MPI, as it were, we've been talking about it a while, like what would happen. It hasn't really changed a whole lot, you know. Teams go here and there, but we'll see if it does. I mean, there's been some big injuries lately, starting with the number one team in the country, Jack Ivankovic, the goaltender.
That's a significant one.
Yeah. I mean, Michigan's been rolling right along. He's played every minute of every game for them so far, in addition to his stint at the World Juniors, and now he's going to be sidelined for a while. The coach, Brandon Naurato, says it doesn't look like the season long, or at least they're hoping that he's back for the Big Ten playoffs. That's currently the prognostication. So, you know, you look at their goaltenders, and after that, it's Stephen Peck, who is a freshman who has not appeared in a game, obviously, played for Muskegon last year, and Julian Molinaro, who played one game of mop-up duty last year for Northern Michigan in a game, and then he transferred. So that's it. The good news is Michigan can score like crazy, and, you know, they come off blitzing Notre Dame. And that Notre Dame game got ugly with two Notre Dame players getting suspended, as a matter of fact, for stuff that happened in that game. Not for the incident that Ivan Kovac got hurt on, though. That was a collision with Danny Nelson, I believe. He was not reprimanded for that. But it was stuff late in the game. As you know, Notre Dame's frustrated. They haven't won a Big Ten game yet this year. First year coach Brock Sheehan. So, you know, tough sledding for them right now. But anyway, Michigan's on a roll. They go to Minnesota this weekend, and I think they'll be okay. They'll figure out a way. But that's a big loss, so we'll see if that affects things at the top.
Yeah. I mean, it could affect things a little bit, right? I don't think they're going to fall, they're not going to fall out of the tournament or anything like that. But, right. Is this going to prevent them from being the number one overall seed? Maybe. They might still be a number one, but will they be number one overall? Who knows? We'll see in March. But where it's not season ending, that's definitely a good sign. That makes me believe they're probably not going to look to make an addition the way that Providence did earlier in the week, if it sounds like they're going to get him back. Right.
Speaking of which,
you never know.
That is, before we, again, we're going to get to Western Michigan here in a second. They're our team of the week. We got Coach Pat Verschweiler coming up. The signing, if you will, and let me just make sure I preface this by saying that I do not blame Providence.
It does kind of feel that way, right?
Yeah. I do not blame Providence at all. I mean, they're doing what they have to do. Apparently, this is within the rules. They've got it, approved by the NCAA.
What every other team would have done. I mean, let's be honest. They're doing what every other team would have done that had the capability to do it.
Yeah. But we got more cards and letters this week as a result of that than anything else we've talked about all year. And I've heard from more coaches that are like, and again, they all say, like, if they had to do it, they would. But they're all like, what are we doing here? And what really is the rule,
I understand it, but at the same time, like, I had the same reaction. I had somebody on Twitter this week that was like, you're just glossing this over. I'm like, well, what's he, like the eighth guy? I'm like,
yeah.
Newsflash, this has been happening for like 6 months. Where you been? Like, I don't know. It's just, doesn't take me by surprise. He's not the first player to do it.
Yeah, I know. And just so people know, this is Michael Simpson is his name. And, if you were a follower of Major Junior, you'd probably know who he is because he won the OHL championship twice and was playoff MVP for Peterborough in 2023. Last year, he played 10 games in the American Hockey League and sometime in the East Coast League. This year, it's been all East Coast League. And, I haven't talked to Nate Lehman or the coaches there yet. I'm planning on doing so, but I'm just curious how it all came about, because Philip Svedback, who's the starting goaltender, was injured a couple weeks ago, I guess now, and he's been their top guy for basically all 4 years. I don't assume that they were just sitting there, hanging around scouting East Coast League games.
No.
So somehow they had to have, started making calls, I guess.
Either that, my guess is there was and I don't know this. I'll preface this like you. I've not talked to anybody over there, but my guess, if I were to guess how this happened, there was some sort of relationship with the agent / advisor.
Right.
That's probably what happened. And again, I'm just guessing here, but you make one phone call. Maybe there's a couple of Providence guys already that use this advisor. I guess we should call them agents now. I mean, let's be real.
Yeah.
But, you make a phone call, hey, I've got a guy that might be able to be a good fit. That's how I'm guessing it happened, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah, right. I'm sure. Yeah, and, it might be a more interesting story as to how they got him admitted to school so fast and enrolled. I mean, that's another thing that always baffles me, I guess. But they must have this down to a science.
I think they're lucky right now, too, is it's between semesters.
Right, right.
If this were February, they're probably not making an addition because enrollment would be closed.
Oh, for sure.
Semester, right? Like the timing of it.
Even still, I don't know when classes start back up again, but it's got to be pretty soon.
I think most places, are next week, like around the 20th.
Yeah. I'm not sure your average student would be able to, hey, I want to come there. Okay, sure. And be enrolled in a week, Yeah,
you could be right. Yeah.
I don't know. But, and then, of course, there's the roster limit situation, which we've talked about, too, which people have been asking me. But, again, I mean, they're an opt-in school, right? So they're bound by the 26 cap. But, as we've seen, lots of loopholes with all the players who are designated, what is it called?
Designated student athletes.
Right. Where they were being
and
recruited.
In case you were worried about how that was all rolled out, it was basically the honor system. If the school said that you're a designated student athlete, you're a designated student athlete.
Well, I've actually been doing some digging on this because I was trying to hope that maybe we could get a list. And apparently, the College Sports Commission is supposed to be the one that you had to submit the list to.
Yes.
And track it. Now, how diligent that is, I don't know. But the thing is, that designation is going to follow those players for 4 years.
Yep. It sticks with them their entire career.
So someone's got to be keeping track, or else there's, how would you know that, right?
And what's curious to me, I said it to a coach over the summer, and I kind of got we haven't been told we can't do this answer, but I was like, so could you just designate your entire team?
My understanding is there is at least. Well, you have to have been a freshman, right?
You had to be a returning player or an incoming freshman.
Okay. I've actually had someone tell me that, I don't know, I haven't verified it, and I'm not going to say who it is that I heard about, but that there is at least one school that did that.
So had it been and the reason for it, in case people don't know, it was originally the 26-player cap was supposed to be instituted immediately, and the judge or the judge that needed to approve the House settlement,
right?
Said, well, that's gonna screw a lot of kids. You're going to be cutting a lot of players. And
at the last minute,
yeah. So this was the middle ground of, well, we'll be able to keep those players if we tag them, but
it was supposed to be if someone was going to be cut, had this rule,
yes,
that then you could designate them and keep them. So theoretically, it had to fall under that banner, right?
Yeah, but it's just funny that somebody did their entire team. I mean, look, and that's the thing. There's no rule that says you can't do that, which is what I was saying over the summer. So you could just designate everybody, and now you're at zero. And if you're an opt-in school, you're at zero for the next 4 years until you start adding actual players.
There's apparently very few rules that you can't do anything at this point, but as evidenced by because this goalie again. It's not. It's been a year and a half that he's been in the pros, right? There was supposed to be some sort of no one's clear on the exact threshold, and it might be dependent upon whatever person is reviewing the case that day, as to whether or not enough money was made playing pro hockey to supersede whatever the cost of attendance would be at a college. It's supposed to be something like that, but again, it's pretty vague. So who knows at this point? as we've been joking about, I'm waiting for Patrice Bergeron and Sidney Crosby to be the next centers for somebody.
Well, it's funny because like somebody said that to me the other day, like, well, why can't a team just sign a 35-year-old? And well, because as far as I know, and again, this may have changed, but as far as I know, there's still the 21-year-old rule.
Yeah.
So you'll lose a year for every year you've played organized hockey after 21, which means all these guys that are coming in that have pro experience that are 22-year-old freshmen more than likely only have 2 or 3 years of eligibility, not 4, because you lose a year for every year you played after you turn 21 in organized hockey.
Right.
So you can't bring in a 30-year-old that's played in the NHL for 10 years because obviously he would have expired his eligibility. But still, you don't know necessarily, which is going to make this fun, like trying to track rosters in the future, because
I know
these guys they're listed as freshmen. But we don't know, is he a freshman with 2 years of eligibility? Is he a freshman with 4 years of eligibility? I have no idea.
Dude, I don't know. I wrote to the commission and trying to get a list, and I was just told we don't keep that. We're not making that public, or whatever the heck they said. Whatever is the case, it was basically bug off. So, I mean, I just want, really no nefarious purpose other than like sort of record keeping and transparency. It'd be nice if the public knew, like, this team, like, because all these teams are bringing in players, as we talked about last week with Tynan Lawrence coming to BU, like, and they're not. I don't think they're opted in yet, actually. So they can.
BU is not,
but
no.
BC is, like, for example, and like how are they doing this? How are they going over the limit? And it's because of that loophole. So, but it would be nice to know exactly what number we're dealing with. So I don't know. It's hard to have a rational conversation about what teams' options are. This is all so new with this stuff. And speaking of which, Western Michigan just brought in a guy today, and we'll talk about that because
I didn't even see that.
Yeah.
That's news to me. Okay.
Alex Kalbeck from Chicago Steel, defenseman, was brought in. Now he was again on their list. He was on the recruit list, basically committed to go next year. So they're just kind of bringing him in early. And this is because they've been hit with the injury bug on defense, and so far they've been able to get by regardless. But, Väisänen, who, Pat Verschweiler says was having like an All-American season early in the year, lost for the season, pretty bad knee injury, and he's rehabbing now. They don't, he won't be back till next year. And then they lost Cole Krusberg-Rosine to a similar thing. I mean, also a knee injury. I was told that it was not as bad, whatever that means. But he'll be out for the remainder of the season as well. So, and both those guys are right-hand shots. And that's a tough act to replace. So they brought in Kalbeck here. And that should help. We'll see how much it helps. But they've been doing well regardless. I mean, Hampton Slukinski's been tremendous. He started out the year a little bit shaky, although, just numbers-wise, but a lot of bad luck and stuff. And, they were adjusting defensively to what was going on. He's been great. I saw them at Denver this past weekend. He was tremendous. And so, he's kind of back to his old self. And they've had other injuries. Owen Michaels was playing, but banged up, quote-unquote. And now seems to be 100% again. He scored 2 goals in the game Saturday against Denver. And so, playoff MVP last year for the NCAA tournament. And he's back at full strength now. So, they're getting through it. And, as we talk a lot about coaching staffs, I mean, again, there's a lot of good ones out there. But Westerns is right there among the elite. So they're figuring it out. Doesn't surprise me, really.
Every team's dealing with it at this point, but if you're dealing with key players like that, I mean, that makes it even harder. And especially if you're losing a couple of guys at a single spot. And that's where, like, to go back to the roster cap conversation, when that does get to 26, like in 4 years, when designated student athletes have all basically been phased out, they've all graduated, what's going to happen then?
Yeah,
because you're seeing a team lose 1 goalie and have to add a player. A team loses 2 defensemen and they have to add a player. Yeah. And under the cap rule, they're not going to be allowed to do that. So what's going to, is the team going to have to try to get by with 6 defensemen for the rest of the year if you lose a couple for the rest of the season? Like that, they've got to figure out a way to raise. 26 is not enough. There's no minor league hockey team. Like this isn't the minors where you can go grab a team out of the East Coast League if you're an AHL team. I don't think it needs to be much more, but like 28 just seems to make much more. It's an extra forward and an extra D. Like 28 makes more sense to me.
Well, they do have some wiggle room here thanks to that loophole. So you're right. I mean, in 4 years, you'd like to think within that time they'll figure it out. But if there's one thing that every coach can pretty much agree on, it's that is the case. They all think that's too. Maybe not every single one of them. I think I know people have said that Boston College is a program that always likes to kind of keep a smaller roster, right? So maybe they don't care as much. I don't know. But then again, they just brought in Oscar Hemming middle of the year, so. Yeah, it's definitely going to be an issue. Pretty much everyone agrees, and I think that's probably something that can get done. I mean, for all the craziness going on, I mean, that seems like something that
I would hope so.
Yeah. So 27 or 28 or whatever the case may be. So that that's Western, and like I said, I mean, and speaking of that, I mean, you get it. You got a guy like Hampton Slukinski. I mean, talking about as Coach Furschweiler pointed out to me, as far as his numbers being kind of below 900. Save percentage-wise early in the season, you think about all the hockey he's played over the last couple of years, winning a USHL championship and how long that takes, and then, got a World Junior gold medal last year, and then the NCAA tournament, and then he was at the World Championships, did not play really, but was there for whatever it was, 6 weeks, and then, right back at it this year. So, maybe some fatigue there. He actually was offered a spot with the U.S. Collegiate Selects and decided not to go, which is probably a wise move. But I got to say, for somebody that competitive, it's kind of hard to say no. So it was a pretty mature, decision on his part to say, nah. So I was
surprised that no Western players were there. I mean, there's 4 or 5 guys from Western I would have figured would have been a...
Yeah, I mean, Owen Michaels apparently was another guy they were looking at, but again, he was banged up. Not 100%. So, again, a kind of a wise move not to go. And so those are the big ones, and then, of course, Väisänen might have been a big candidate at that point. Sure. But, yeah, so certainly they have guys that could have gone. But, hey. But, anyway, yeah, Western with the 2 big wins right now, and they play at Minnesota Duluth this coming week, so it does not get any easier. But they are looking to be in pretty decent shape despite the loss of those 2 defensemen for the rest of the season. Cole Spicer, another guy who's been injured, and he is not going to be back for a while, but hopefully back, by the end of the season. So that's a forward that they are missing. But they haven't had trouble scoring goals. They are number 3 in the country in that department. Last year they were first. So as we said, that mantle goes to Michigan at the moment. Now, moving on to some other games, I saw, BU and UMass had talk about scoring. I mean, that was the lack thereof in that department this past week. What is it? Both 1-0 games essentially with an empty netter. They traded 1-0 wins for the most part, and then BU played Harvard on Monday, and that was a 2-1 game with 2 empty netters late. So BU winning in that essentially 2-1, and so Tynan Lawrence's first 3 games, no points. So I guess another guy figured to go near the top of the draft. I suppose he's making Gavin McKenna look really good with how hard it is for a 17-year-old to come right in. So, again, maybe this boosts McKenna's resume there by seeing how hard it is for Lawrence, right?
He's a great player. He's going to help them at some point. He's getting his feet wet in college hockey. I think it's a definite jump from the USHL. But again, I don't know that BU needed another 17-year-old player. That's not necessarily what I think is going to fix them. If they have a better second half, and I think they could. I mean, they won again last night. It's going to be the combination of adding that center in Lawrence, but also just getting healthy again. They were out so many guys in the first half for periods of time. Like Bovair was playing through something, and he's been. They need more out of him for sure.
Von Dirk, right?
He's another one
who got a goal this past week. Or I think
the one that nobody talks about, but I know talking to Jay Pandolfo a few months ago, the guy we missed the most is Nick Rukanakis, who nobody talks about him. He's got 5 points in 10 games since he's been back, but he's he's a guy that kind of just drives the identity. He drives the way we want to play, and they were without him for half the first half in the first couple of months of the year when they're trying to incorporate all these new younger guys into the lineup. So, I think the fact that they're they're healthy, should give them a boost. And look, they need to get some better play out of the net. Like Yegorov was fantastic for them down the stretch. He's been hot and cold in the first half of the year. We saw in the second half last year that he can be a difference maker. They need him to be a difference maker. They need him to be what he was January through April of last year.
Yeah. Well, and like you said, I mean, when you're already the youngest team in college hockey by a lot, is a 17-year-old, as good as he may be, the thing you need to fix things, right? So, yeah, they've got obvious work to do. I mean, I think it's going to be tough, but we've seen BU teams historically, the second half is when things kick in. So, usually Beanpot, they could be coasting around and then they win the Beanpot and off they go. So we'll see if that happens this time. That big mushy 16 to 20, whatever it is now. I mean, New Hampshire's down to 23 for Hockey's, but the team, it's like the team of the week that kind of peaks its head above 15, and this week it's Providence. So we talked about them, and again, they tread water without Svedback. But, Jack Parsons, pretty good goalie, right? Freshman, he's been biding his time, comes in and has a tremendous weekend against Maine. So, Maine, we thought maybe they turned the corner last week as they had a good, strong week against Denver, but then they go and get swept by Providence. So, Maine winds up back at 29 now in the MPI. So, I don't know how much, if you got to see any of that at all, but, that was like running into a brick wall for Maine. Good job by Providence.
Yeah, and look, Parsons is a good goalie. I mean, he was really good in the USHL last year. He played for the National Development Program. Right. I mean, he's got a pedigree. Like, you expect that he would be able to come in and play well. I'm not surprised that they added Simpson. I think that, again, was just what happens if something happens to Parsons. Like, you need somebody else. Like, you need to have somebody else that you're confident in playing back there if you were to have another injury, especially, we've got 3 months left here. It's not like it's March. So, but, I don't think Simpson's going to come in and necessarily just take the job right away, especially not with the way the Parsons played over the weekend. He deserves a second look, and I think he'll get one. But like everything else, it's going to be like what we talk about Hockey East every week now is can Providence stay there? Like they've got the spot for now, but can they? Because UConn had it at one point, and then they lost to Lowell and they dropped. Maine looked like they were going to have it at one point after that Denver weekend. They get swept by Providence. And
Northeastern was up there.
Northeastern was like 20 spots higher than they are right now a month ago.
I know.
They were like 12 in the middle of December, and they're down in the 30s now. And now it's Providence's turn. Like, can they hang on? Can they remain there, or do they have a bad weekend and then BC jumps them? Who knows? But it's crazy. Like, nobody. Yeah. We've been saying it since Thanksgiving, but like these hockey teams they're killing each other now. Is what's happening.
Yeah. And hey, shout out to Mercyhurst, first win of the year. There you go. Friday against Army, they win 3-0. Army got a little angry the next night, beat them 5-0. So it is what it is. But glad to see they got the monkey off their back at least, as for Mercyhurst there. So we'd be remiss if we did not mention a huge weekend. St. Thomas has now won 6 in a row. They go to Minnesota State and win 4-2. They only a single game for some reason. I'm not really sure what that was all about exactly, but I'm sure there's some reason. But St. Thomas is now sort of flip-flopped with Minnesota State, 14 in the MPI. Augustana is 12. They just keep chumming along. I mean, Augustana took care of business, as they say, at Northern Michigan. But the St. Thomas one, impressive.
They prevented a catastrophic loss because that would have probably dropped. That would have dropped them to 20.
But they maintain, at 12, and St. Thomas up to 14. They won 6 in a row, as I said. Beat Minnesota State on the road. And it's funny, the week before against Ferris, they had a game that they won 8-4 where they allowed the first 2 goals and the last 2 goals of the game and scored all 8 in between. So they won 8-4. And then they go to Minnesota State and they score 4 goals in the second period. It was very similar in that regard, but they did not allow the 2. They did allow 2 in the third, but win the game 4-2. So kudos to St. Thomas, which, again, kind of slips under the radar a bit here, but Alex Gaffney, who we had a story on earlier in the year, the Harvard transfer, who never had more than 8 goals in a season for Harvard, 13 now in 22 games for Gaffney. And so he leads the way. And Lucas Wallin, who was another guy who was a key recruit for them early on and has stuck it out 4 years, 17 goals last year, 14 this year, and has done a great job in that regard. So that's St. Thomas. Cornell, who was our team of the week last week, swept Alaska at home, so they now get back into league play coming up here. And, Dartmouth righted the ship a little bit by beating Harvard in the only game they played this weekend. The one thing that stands out in sort of a negative light, I suppose, is St. Lawrence losing 8-1 and 4-1 to Yale and Brown.
Yeah.
And no offense to Yale and Brown, but that might be rock bottom for St. Lawrence, as it were, which is unfortunate because, look, it's a program I've been admired for many, many years. One of the first things I ever did in college at Cornell was cover a game St. Lawrence was in, and then when I got out of college, the first coach I ever interviewed for Princeton Radio was Joe Marsh, the old St. Lawrence coach. Tremendous guy. So I've always had fondness for the program, but tough times right now for them. Difficult as it were. So anyway, thought I'd throw that in there. Sorry, guys. All right. Well, let's get on to Western Michigan coach Pat Ferschweiler. We'll talk to him on the other side.
Class, today we're talking men's ice hockey. Open your textbooks. Join thousands of other screaming fans for an in-person experience you have to see to believe. It's the NCAA Men's Frozen Four, April 9th and 11th in Las Vegas. Attendance is encouraged. Passion is mandatory. Buy your seats today at ncaa.com/mfrozen4.
How many teams are in the Men's Frozen Four?
Please leave.
Hey, welcome back to the College Hockey News Insiders podcast, as we're going to get now to Western Michigan head coach Pat Ferschweiler, who talked for a while about a lot of things. This is probably whittled down a bit, or else we'd be breaking the Metcalf rule, and this show would go on too long. So just a portion of my interview with Pat Ferschweiler, and Team of the Week article is on collegehockeynews.com about Western Michigan, as they come off the sweep of Denver at Magnus Arena and right back at number 5 in the MPI and itching to get back in the mix once again. Another NCAA tournament on the horizon. They've been in it every year since Ferschweiler has taken over.
It's been an interesting season because we lost our best defenseman for the year and probably our 4th best defenseman for the year. And Univaisinen obviously had a great freshman year, but at the start of this year, it was a different level of play that you're just like, he is going to be wearing a Pittsburgh uniform in April. And that's what it looked like to me. Had to be one of the top defensemen in the country, but like top 3, I would think. And then, so it was their 5th game or 6th, whatever it was. He, got a low hip check there and blew his knee out. And Rosine goes down. So not just 2 defensemen, but 2 right-handed defensemen. So now, it's, those things they're pieces of gold anyway. And, they just took 2 of our pieces of gold out, So, after those, they clear you and they say, you're fine to go. It's usually the next year where you're back to you. I'm sure he's still going to be good. He's a very determined young man. I would have no surprise whatsoever if he came back even stronger. He's attacking his, he's like 6-7 weeks out from his surgery, just starting to really be able to, kind of start to attack his rehab. I know he's going to lean into it. I know he'll be a dynamic player for us next year. There's no doubt. And he's a world-class young man. So
it just, like, you tell me, just from a distance, to me, it looks like, not that you want to lose those guys, believe me, but it feels like you can absorb it a little because you do have some veteran guys otherwise, and you've got Hampton in net. So, that helps.
Well, Hampton was world-class. It was interesting that in the second game, Hampton made like 4 world-class saves and a lot of good ones on top of that. It was an interesting year for him because his first half numbers weren't very good. He rolled into Christmas at like an 8.87. Some of that was the play in front of him. Took us a little while to adjust to losing Una. Some of it was, honestly, he has weird breaks. I bet you 5 goals were off our defenseman in the net,
right,
or off our stick, like from behind the goal. Not the ones that bank off a guy, that happens all the time. You know what I mean? But the weird ones where it wasn't even going toward the net, it hits and goes in, and so some things out of his control. There's some he would want back as well. You think about last year, he won the championship in the USHL, played a long season. First half for us, World Junior Championship gold medal, NCAA championship. Yeah. Then he goes with the men's world. Doesn't play, but he's there the entire time. That's 4 or 5 weeks. Wins the championship. Then he's got LA Kings camp in the summer, and I don't know if there was time to. And then all the activities that I was like.
Do you think that's more mental too? Oh man, I've done everything. What do I do now? And just kind of coast a little bit. I don't know.
Well, no, that kid wouldn't coast a day in his life. I almost think he overworks at times.
Right.
Honestly, if I was to do something, I would gear him back because he's so focused on being great. But the one thing that U.S. Selects team, asked him, they wanted him, and he's right away to his agency, absolutely not. I need that break at Christmas.
Yeah.
I've been going straight hockey for a year and a half.
That was a good. That was a mature idea because competitive. I mean, most guys want to do something. But,
right. And then Owen Michaels was nursing his knee the entire first half.
Well, he looked good this weekend.
Well, he looks like a completely different person now that his knee's healed. Yeah. The first half of the year, it was what's wrong with Owen? I'm like, well, he's Justine, he's leading, he's got new line mates. When you can't skate at full speed, he was nicked up the first half. He did get his knee scoped. Now he looks like Owen Michaels from last year. He looks fast. He looks competitive. He's been ripping pucks. He's playing confident. I think any injury in a player, especially in your lower half, creates doubt. It just creates doubt. And not enough doubt to not play, but to be to be hyper effective. I think you have to have full confidence.
I mean, I don't know what you mean at that level, but I've played enough sports in my life to know what you mean.
Yeah.
But now that you've won a championship, right? And you say, so I mentioned the mental stuff. Is it hard at all to remotivate, for a new year, or is it just always just such a new thing? Guys are competitive. I mean, is there anything like that?
There isn't 1 ounce of that in our program at all. The mentality was, and I loved our mentality. So for the summer, for the most part, we had, our 3 trophies in the locker room that kind of displayed in there, the Penrose, the Frozen Face-Off, and the National Championship. And, our captains, we start the year and they're still in there, and probably, I don't know, 3 weeks before the regular season starts, captains just came in and say, hey, Coach, is it okay if we take those trophies out of here? This team didn't win it. Last year's team did.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And we took them right out, and, we display them upstairs, obviously, now. But I thought that was a great sign that their heads were in the exact right spot, where they enjoyed it. They appreciated it. They've recognized their accomplishment, which they should. It's a big deal. But now that they were 100% over that and ready to try to accomplish something different and new this year. So it was pretty great to see.
Same for yourself, coaches? I mean,
for me, it's easy. I just stand back there and look pretty. I don't do a whole lot. So,
come on.
It's it was easy for me because I same idea.
Yeah. We
got to recognize it. We got to have it. But I think you change one person on a team, you have an entirely new team. And certainly, we changed 10 guys. So you say, hey, we got another great group coming back. You're excited about the group. But, last year we had, 14, 15 new guys coming in as well. We were picked 6th in the league. We didn't really know. So I don't think we're such a day-by-day staff and a day-by-day team. And I think that helps in our preparation. We just say, we're here to get better every day. And the players will tell you how fast to move forward. And when to slow things down if they're getting it correctly. So,
well, it's funny because everyone's turnover is huge nowadays, right? So it's like
it is.
You're all on the same page. But relatively speaking, I thought your forward group is fairly. I know there's been changes, but because you've gotten the reputation the last few years. Your top line changes over every year, and somehow you guys manage to find new guys. But this year, most of those top guys are back. So
yeah, well, it was wild. So last year. we enter and I didn't know these stats until the end of the year, honestly, but we enter the year, the second fewest returning goals in college hockey, only behind Northern Michigan because their whole roster. So then everybody says, how are you going to score? And we led the country in scoring.
Right.
You know, and it kind of to your point, but, you know, but this year they're like, oh, they return a lot of goals.
Yeah,
they're going to score. And and we do. I don't know where we're at in the country, but I think we got to be up there fairly high. And that's part of the ability to cover up for our losses at defense is our ability to put pressure on teams and score. And, you know, as we've talked over the years, you know, we talk about defending with the puck. I think that's the best defense there is have the puck. You see these great offensive players and they say you can't defend. Well, every time he has the puck, he is defending, in my opinion. You know, and every time you put the other team on their heels, you're defending in a different way. And so we just had to adjust and do that more, especially with our, you know, our young D-men in there and without our, you know, our two of our top four.
Right.
So I think they made a pretty good adjustment. And then when you get world-class goaltending like we've got since Christmas, it's difference maker.
I was going to say, it looks like Whitelaw's fit in pretty good. You know, Zach Wisdom. I mean, that's been another one.
Yeah.
So, but what? I don't know if this is a bad question or not. But Cole Spicer, what did he get hurt or what happened there?
He did.
Okay.
Well, it took us a long time to just get him out.
Right, I know. Yeah, that was the whole thing.
He had an appeal process, which, I mean, originally we thought was going to take like 2 weeks, and it took, I don't know, 8 or whatever it was. And he came back. He played his 4 games. He looked great. Like really great. And he looks great in practice. And, you know, I was like, man, now he looks like a future pro again. You know, that's the guy I saw when he was 15 years old. And then just, we come back from break and we just have those 2.5 practices before we play Boston College. And literally just a weird got tangled up with a guy. They both fell down, looked like nothing. It wasn't like even a hit almost. You know, it was just kind of a weird thing. Like it happened in hockey. And next thing I know, he's skating off down the end and nobody really knew what happened. And then we come off after practice and he's got a fucking hole in his arm down to his, like you could see the ligaments in his arm operating,
really?
But thank God it didn't cut the ligaments.
Right.
But it went right to him.
Jesus.
He still hasn't skated with the team since then. End of last week and this week, going out on his own. You know, we have some other training devices, parachutes, and these kind of things that we use. He's been on that, so he can skate now, but still not shooting the puck full strength.
Let me backtrack to the point of all this specifically, just to talk about the Denver weekend. But can you sum up? I mean, obviously you got kind of revenge, I guess, and them coming to you and doing the same thing. So, you know, what did you see out of the 2 games? The good, the pros and cons, all the good and the bad.
Well, the good in both games is we scored, which I think is important. And again, I think that's going to be our path to success this year with the young D core back there. I thought we were highly competitive, which is the only chance. And then we got the great goaltending, you know, and Denver's obviously a great team. And there was lots of things we did better in the series here at Lawson against them than we did better out there. But their goaltending was world class when they played here. I still thought it was strong in Denver. I don't think it was on their goalie, but
no.
Ours kind of, we returned the favor of world class goaltending back on them, and I think that might have been the difference in both those series.
It was 1-0 though through 2 periods, so it was. I mean, you guys played well defensively too. So
it is. It was 1-0 out here. You know, it was one. We scored early on them in the first game, and then I thought we had, let's call it 4 to 7, like grade A, us and the goaltender opportunities to make it 2-0. I think we make it 2-0, we probably win the game.
Right.
But we didn't do that. And then they found it. They found a goal. They manufactured another one through hard work, and then they get the empty netter. The difference out there was when we score early 1-0. Now we find that second goal in the power play. You know, that's the one that won us the game. You know, and then the next night, it was very similar to the second night in Western, where they came out and just scored pretty easily.
Yeah, 30 seconds.
You know, and often, and then we came out and scored not easily, but pretty often early. And then, the rest of the game just kind of goes by. There's chances, there's things, there's whatever. But, how often do you get to come back from 5-1?
You talked about how, offense driving things. But like I said, maybe just because I saw that one game, I thought you guys were pretty freaking solid defensively against on Friday's game, shutting them down.
Yeah, we're not I think last year we led the country in goals and we were third in goals against. So we do play pretty good defense too. And we still all our D. The good thing is all our D are still here. We only have 6 on the roster, but they can all skate. And if you can skate, at least
Exactly.
you have a chance. And our D play, they skate forward more than they skate backward, and that's how we teach and that's how we play. So I do think we're fairly effective as a team of taking time and space away. We're certainly not perfect, but we're able to take time and space away. We're able to make people make plays before they want to. We're able to skate it out lots. So
did have a bunch of penalties you had to kill off. There was that.
I was like, is that really an 8-3 penalty game?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's a little weird, but they're doing the best they can, and you try to make sure that you try to cut them at least back race.
I don't want to keep you all day, but there's a couple of things I wanted to touch on. First of all, the new arenas coming along, slow and steady.
Spectacular. It's amazing. KalamazooEventCenter.com.
Yep.
There's not a video, but there's also a live feed on there. It updates picture every hour. This thing is, I'm so excited. But just to watch the progress kind of live, I'm on there too much, probably an unhealthy amount. And then I probably drive, it's just 4 blocks off the end of campus. And so I probably drive by there at least once a week so I can get all 4 sides and go, ooh, man, the parking structure's coming. Now they're working on the practice rink. But the main part of the bowl is almost complete with the roof trellises in. It's really starting to look like, a big, awesome structure that it is. It's 4 square city blocks. So it is not a small structure. It is awesome.
And that was Western Michigan coach Pat Ferschweiler. We're going to go along now to another NCAA champion coach, Rick Bennett, formerly of Union, won it in 2014. With that team, a tremendous run, but they had, and then Bennett leaving Union under auspicious circumstances a few years ago, which we've talked a lot about. Not the fairest of circumstances, but it's great to have him back in college hockey. He's looking to get back in. He got an assistant job with Quinnipiac last year, and then after 1 year, Ben Barr at Maine came calling. So Bennett now the top assistant, or one of the top assistants, I guess you could say, at Maine. And we catch up with him just for his thoughts on what it's like getting back in the mix and in this brand new landscape, which is tough. It was tough at Union, but managed. And nowadays things get tougher and tougher for some programs. But we talked about that and more with Rick Bennett. How did that all come to be with getting to Quinnipiac and then to Maine? What was that whole process like?
Once, it was finished up with, Vegas, it was, in pro, I said, geez, I want to get back to the college game. I had a great experience. The Vegas organization was great, and, it was what it was. We knew it was going to be a challenge taking a team right from ground zero up. So, I give them a lot of credit for giving a college guy a try. And so it was fun, but again, just wanted to get back to college, and I give Rand Pecknall, Joe Dume at the time, a lot of credit for reaching out, taking a chance on me, and it worked great. And then it wasn't like I was looking to leave Quinnipiac. And I got a call. Ben reached out, did it the right way, and next thing you know, here I am at Maine. Because I worked with Ben. Yeah, right. I really enjoyed our time together at Union. We kept in touch throughout the years, and part of me always liked, I wanted to get back to Hockey East. I'd done enough, and
sure,
in the Eastern AC, and just a different challenge. That's all.
I got you. Did your family follow you around all these places, or how'd that?
No. The good thing about being married for I guess for this long, and she knows, my wife knows the racket, and she's a nurse, so pretty self-sufficient. We were just kind of waiting for our youngest to finishing up nursing school, and once that's done, then we'll move together.
You feel like Maine is a place where you're going to land for a while?
I certainly hope so. Obviously I've been in the racket long enough to know, you go to a place, try to do the best job you possibly can, learn as much as you can, and just hope you're the right fit with that school and that staff, right? So.
But do you think you'll ever pursue head jobs again, or is that ship sailed a little bit?
I don't really know, right? I don't.
Case by case.
If it happens, I'll definitely look at it for sure. And it's not something, but it has to be the right fit. I've already done ground zero up type thing, and I'm not saying
sure.
that the union thing was ground zero. Far from it, but it had its challenges, just like a lot of jobs. But it's just kind of, we'll see.
Well, yeah, I got you. Well, like I said, I'm never going to say anything that I don't mean. So I'm glad you're back in college hockey because you don't have to say anything, but we all thought that what happened was ridiculous. So glad it all worked out in a sense.
No, and I have no problem on record saying, you know what, I understand. Union was great to me. They gave me a chance. Jim McLaughlin was awesome, and the AD, and hey. You move on. That's life. I learned a lot, and you move on.
Yeah, I hear you. I think we talked right after that. So, you pretty much said the same thing then. So I appreciate that. But I'm glad you're back. So,
sure. No, and I appreciate you saying. I appreciate you saying that.
And the Shane Gostisbehere's performance in that 2014 game is still like maybe right when I was starting doing this was the Jim Montgomery hat trick in the Frozen Four.
Right.
That might be the only thing that's right even close to that. I mean, what Shane did in that game was ridiculous to this day.
Look, and it's ironic because I look at the picture every day, and I'm looking at it right now from my office, is the 41 1-2 team. So, and there's there's Jim's, there's Jimmy front and center with the trophy with the team, which is, that's just that's incredible, right?
Yeah, right. So, no, for sure. But yeah, God, I'll never get those images out because I was standing right at the glass for that game doing the radio and for Westwood One. And Shane, a couple of times where he's going up the boards, off the boards to himself, around just play after play where you're like, what he's possessed, this game. Yeah. So not that all the other guys didn't have good games, but that was just ridiculous.
Oh, so. He was, sometimes it's just the right setting, right? He was a Philly pick.
Right.
Right, and sometimes things just add up, right? It must have been I think it was a full moon for all I know, right? So
yeah, right, for sure.
Yeah, so just added up. It just worked out for us, which was great.
I did want to just ask you about how the recruiting's going because you said you were trying to take it all in stride, but it is a lot different than it used. I mean, even 5 years ago, right? Just this stuff. Just
being out of it for a couple of years and then coming back, I was really fortunate enough to work with Joe Dume.
Yeah.
I hate to even say, assistant coach because that guy is head coach whenever he wants, right? And he taught me a lot, even going back all last year. He was really helpful. And so was Rand. And so it was kind of nice coming back and learning a lot about the new landscape of recruiting.
Right.
And and then the CHL came in, and just being on the road, basically almost missed about close to half the games. So,
right.
And that was just a setup, and it was great. Like I had a good time doing it, but and that's how you learn.
Sure.
So, and it's helped this year.
And you're not on the road as much?
No, I'm not.
Gotcha.
I mean, like I said, every job and every situation within your job is different, depending on what the head coach prefers.
Right. Right. For sure. And you see the landscape now. I mean, I was just talking to somebody, like, it seems like, are the New England prep schools just dead in the water at this point? I mean, with the major junior stuff, it's like, people aren't even looking there anymore.
Yeah. Just having a chance to cover the tournaments out here recently. I mean, yeah, is it let's just say watered down a little bit? Yes, but there are still some really good hockey players in prep school hockey, and we happened to take one.
Right.
Out of one of the tournaments. So,
gotcha.
I think anytime you go on a recruiting trip, it means something. You're not going to recruit just to go recruit. CHL teams were there, USHL teams are there. Watching it, for pretty well too. So, it wasn't just college coaches. So if you have all those scouts from different college and USHL and CHL, well, then prep school's pretty darn good.
Oh, for sure. I just heard a number of coaches telling me they're not even going to go there anymore. So maybe that's good for you. Like you can go there.
I hope they don't.
But and obviously at Union, it's not like you had tons of resources. But I mean, it just seems now some of the bigger schools can just give more and more and more, right? Like they're allowed to. I mean, at least back then, you could give a scholarship and maybe on some level close, right? I mean, is it frustrating that all those other avenues opened, all those huge schools, or you just kind of chalk it up to the way it is,
Yeah, Maine compared to others, it's really, Adam, it's really tough for me to see because I don't know the other teams' budgets. I don't know the other teams, what they have for NIL money.
Right.
Some of the stuff that's thrown out, I think sometimes is a smokescreen. And you recruit to where you are, and you make your best pitch to the players that you like, and either they like it or they don't.
Yeah.
It's really that simple.
No, fair enough. I don't know. Let's put it this way: like a commitment used to actually mean something. Like you used to have like a letter of intent or some sort of, and now it's just like there's no enforcement, nothing. I mean, it's like the Wild West. So
I do, but honestly, it was a Wild West before.
Was it? Yeah.
It's just in different ways, and now it's just a little wilder. Like the landscape changes, and either you adapt or it's going to be a long ride for you.
No, I hear you.
All this, I just believe some of this stuff was going on years ago. It's just now it's a little more. It's just coming more to the forefront because it seems like sometimes the West got a little wilder.
It's amazing to me how quickly Major Junior just sort of became another place to go recruit. Right? I mean, no one knew how it was going to go, and now it just seems like, we just got to recruit there like we do the USHL or anywhere else.
Like when the rule came through, it just opened up 60 plus teams and plus the U Sports, right? So, and it's you're not going to cover all that. I don't care if 3 of the coaches are on the road, right?
Right.
You just something's going to be missed, and I think we're all trying to figure it out and really get kind of specific to areas to see because you just even with the USHL, the other leagues, BC. Alberta League, you name it, North American. It's just tough to really. If you don't start pinpointing and you're all over the place,
right?
It's going to be tough.
Is it helpful that Quebec League's right there for you guys? I mean, does that help a bit?
Yeah. I mean, it does help certainly.
But y'all learning French?
I'm learning a little bit through the players on the team now.
Right.
So I'm just trying to find the clean words, right?
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, that's exactly when I used to travel with hockey teams. I knew all the curses in French.
Yeah,
that was about it.
Yeah, well, we got a good dose of it on the buses back in the day.
Yeah, I'm sure. A lot has been written and talked about the relationship with major junior coaches and whatnot, and if some are, being a pain about it, and some aren't. I mean, what's been your experience like with dealing with that?
That's. You know what? I'm glad you brought that up because to me, it's very simple. You walk in the front door, and what I mean by that is you're not really talking to the coaches. You're talking to the general managers. If you talk to general managers and you're up front, everyone I talked to last year was great. The WHL, a few in the OHL, and a few in the Quebec League, and they were receptive. Now, it's great when you're going last year when you were going after the 04s, right? That was easy. But when you mention an 05, 06,
exactly,
then it gets a little hairy. But at the same token, to me, that's on the player's agent and the player themselves to make it known that they would potentially leave.
Right. Yeah,
but
exactly.
It's never going to be easy. yes, so someone's going to have the ruffled feathers, right? So
yeah, well, they've been doing it the other way for years, so I guess this is
I would just felt if you walk through the front door and you're up front, you try to be as honest as possibly can, and they're either going to like it or not. But at least you tried to reach out to them and do it the right way.
Get hurt in a game? We tough it out. Feel exhausted? We push on. Feeling down? We pull ourselves up by the bootstraps. But there are times when bootstraps aren't enough. When stress gets to us and we need to talk to someone about what we're really going through. So we're going to reach out because sometimes mental health is not a one-person job. Visit loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
All right, welcome back here to the College Hockey News Insiders podcast. Great stuff there from Pat Ferschweiler, the Western Michigan coach, and Rick Bennett. You heard from him for a little bit, the main coach, talking about his transition behind him. It's great to see him back in college hockey. It was great to catch up with him. And I tell him, I don't just say things because you're here, but it's great that you're here. And that 2014 game that they won with Shane Goss's Bear is one of my favorite games I've ever seen. So sorry, Minnesota fans, but it was just a spectacular individual performance that I'll never forget. So yeah, it was funny. I heard on the interview there that he's I says the only thing comparable really to me was the hat trick by Jim Montgomery, Paul Correa there in the 93, and he said, I'm sitting here in the office here in Maine now, and that picture of those guys are up on the wall right in front of me, so that was funny. But, I mean, it sounded like, and not in a bad way at all, but that, going from Quinnipiac, he's very thankful to Quinnipiac for the opportunity to get back into college hockey and has mad respect for those guys. And but I think, he wanted to be more behind the bench as opposed to out recruiting as much. I mean, he's still doing that as an assistant, but every coach is different in what they need and who's who else is already on the staff. You know what I mean? So, yeah. But from what I understand, the only teams in Hockey East right now, and there's very few in the country, but some of the Atlantic schools, I think, but New Hampshire and Vermont are the only ones without a full-time third at the moment, I believe. So, which is not great. Yeah, I know New Hampshire doesn't, so they're trying. They're working on it. But Vermont as well. So, yeah, it's tough. I mean, all the new things have just grown the gap, to certain schools. But hopefully those are state schools that hopefully can get some new life, a lot of the renovations that are coming up, especially New Hampshire. So, anyway, coming up this week here in college hockey to the Big Ten, which we didn't talk much about in the previous segment, but you got Michigan State at Wisconsin, so that's big. I mean, those are two top 10 MPI teams. Michigan State dropped with a loss to Ohio State down to 6 this past weekend, but still obviously right there near the top. So that's going to be a pretty big deal. That Michigan going to Minnesota,
can help keep one guy at home a little bit
Penn
more.
State. So keep an eye on that.
It's funny. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure.
The NCHC, Denver at North Dakota, obviously big. I mean, Denver needs to kind of pull it back together here a little bit. You know, if you heard Pat Ferschweiler there, he was saying that Denver misses Brendan McMorrow. He thought that was the big difference between when Denver went to Western and swept them at Lawson, and turn it around, and then Sulkinski has a huge game, huge weekend, and so that obviously was big. But also not having McMorrow, who got hurt at the World Juniors, they basically lost a speed guy up front who's caused them all sorts of problems, he said. So we'll see if Denver can kind of get it together. They're 10 in the MPI. You never really seem to worry about Denver, but they are, with this tough schedule, they've got to be careful here, go to North Dakota this weekend. They need to get something out of that,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't think, realistically, I mean, I know it was at home, but like the two losses last weekend aren't exact, they're not black eyes, but you don't want to get too much of a tailspin because it can be hard to dig out of that. I mean, just like bringing it back to what we talked about earlier, ask some of these Hockey East teams that have had up and down first halves, how difficult it can be to kind of pull yourself out of that quagmire when you don't have things rolling.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the big games in the East this weekend, you've got Cornell hosting Princeton and Quinnipiac, which turns into a pretty huge weekend. I mean, those are three teams that are basically in the mix for the NCAA tournament. So, and Cornell hosting that. So we'll see if they can continue what's been a strong run.
Hockey East has got a big one. BC Providence is probably the highlight of the weekend there. I think they're the two highest ranked teams in Hockey East right now. Providence is the highest ranked team. BC is the second highest. So that's certainly a big one. And you know what? The way that Hockey East has gone this year, they'll split. Because that's kind of been what's happening.
Well, it is home and home, so we'll see. BU obviously also needs to, if they want to do anything, they've got to follow up. They play Lowell home and home. I mean, Lowell's a decent team. They can certainly, play well. So, but, this, I don't want to say this is it for BU, but it's got to happen soon.
I agree that Lowell's better than their RPI ranking. But that being said, if they lose one of these games, they're losing to a team that's down in the 40s.
Yeah. And, Jay Pandolfo's run of 7 consecutive Frozen Fours on the line. So you always got to remember that.
Yep.
4 as a player, 3 as a coach. So that's, still, I think that's it as far as the big games are concerned. I think that's enough to satisfy us here going forward. I mean, let's see if any other big players sign at a pro, or I guess there's still a week to go. If you go by what you said earlier, that classes don't start.
No, but looking ahead, I think there are some other big games this weekend. I mean, we talked about BC and Providence. That's a big one. You look at the CCHA, get Minnesota State, Michigan Tech. That's big for their league, for sure. And then Duluth coming off that sweep of Linden, where they're going to be on the road at St. Cloud. They're another one. Like, they were been a surprise team. They played really well all year. And you got to see here, like, do they keep it rolling? Because St. Cloud, that feels like a St. Cloud team that is pretty good. Again, like maybe better than what their ranking may suggest with the way that they've played. So that can be a little bit of a trap game. We'll have to see. But Duluth's looked really good all year. The big thing with them, too, is like, what are they going to look like in the second half? The plants are healthy, but they lose the goalie for a little bit. He's going to the Olympics.
That's right.
So they have to, kind of survive that. Right now, they're still a 1 seed if the tournament started today. So really good year for them so far.
Yeah, Guyon, the Duluth goaltender, right? What is it, Slovakia, right?
Slovakia.
They do not have a goalie in the NHL, so he's it, and they need him. So, good job allowing him to go. You don't want to deprive anyone of that situation. So, that's a tremendous opportunity.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. Especially for the Olympics, right? You never know. You never know how these things work out. Like you said, they don't have a goalie in the NHL, so he may get a second crack at it, but could be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we'll see how many games he misses, too. It just depends on the schedule and how fast he can get there and back, because they do have a bye week in February.
Right after that North Dakota series. So it's possible that he may only miss the North Dakota series. And even then, it doesn't – hockey doesn't start till the 11th. So. Yeah, I wonder when he would have to be there, because I think that North Dakota series is the 6th and the 7th.
They might give him a break and say, hey, you can come in on the 9th, and that's fine with us.
Maybe, yeah.
And, Miami is their series on the 20th and 21st, which is right around when the tournament ends. So that might be the only one. Who knows? But, Duluth's in pretty good shape right now. So Max Planck comes back, has a couple of goals. He's up to 19. So the injury wasn't too long lasting there. They play, like you said, at St. Cloud, and then it's Western Michigan. As far as their goaltending situation is concerned, they just have, two guys who haven't played much. Cole Sheffield's a freshman who hasn't played at all. Ethan Dahlmeyer is a transfer from Miami. He's played in 2 games. He played in 14 last year at Miami. So, I guess he's going to be the guy. So we'll see what happens. But they got a couple weeks to worry about that. So, all right. Well, that's, enough action. I'm sure we could find other topics to talk about, and there's always something, but we'll save it for next time.
Sounds good to me.
All right, until then, see ya.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's edition of the College Hockey News Insiders Podcast. To submit your listener questions, please send them to @CHN News on X. And for the best college hockey content around, including features, the CHN Team of the Week, stats, rankings, and so much more, visit us at collegehockeynews.com. Until next time, we hope you enjoy all of this week's great on-ice action, and we'll be back to break it down on our next edition. For Adam Woden and Mike McMahon, this has been the College Hockey News Insiders Podcast.